If you're approaching your race simulation weekend for Ironman and thinking it's just another big training day, you could potentially be making a big mistake. This video breaks down how to use it properly to test pacing, fueling and kit before race day, to save you from making errors along the way. Before we jump in, if you're looking for help preparing for your Ironman, there's a link in the show notes. It's going to take you to our Ironman Accelerator webinar. I really believe that that's 30 minutes of your time well spent. It's going to help you avoid a whole load of problems that people usually experience on the way to Ironman, and it'll definitely help you prepare for your race much, much better. Let's jump into our questions today then. Question 1, when should I schedule the race simulation weekend? Okay, so with most of our athletes, we schedule 2 race sim weekends. We schedule 1 race sim weekend 5 weekends out before race day and 1 race sim weekend 2 weekends before race day. 2 weeks before is the absolute culmination of your training. And so what we're looking at here is you've got yourself as fit as you're going to get. It's the last big weekend before you start tapering for race day. And we're going to do a broken Ironman across that entire weekend. So we're going to do a long swim on the Friday. We're going to do a long ride on the Saturday, followed by a run off. We'll probably do 180k, followed by a 45-minute run. And then on the Sunday, very first thing, we're going to do a long run. And so that's essentially a broken Ironman across a weekend. And it's your chance to practice pacing, but also fueling, nutrition, electrolytes, the clothes that you wear, the bike that you're on, all the kit, everything that you're going to need to do on race day. This is your big chance to do it in training. So we highly recommend athletes do that 2 weeks before race day. For most of our athletes, we'll also do one 5 weeks before race day. And that one's going to be a little bit shorter. It's an initial attempt to ease your way into the race sim weekend. We don't go quite as far on the bike or quite as far on the runs. But again, it's a really good chance to practice all of those things we've just discussed, the pacing, the nutrition, the clothing. In some instances, athletes will race that weekend. They'll race a 70.3 in the lead up to an Ironman, for example. And so that can take the place of that first race sim weekend. It's absolutely essential we get ourselves in shape to do that weekend. And then we deliver the weekend in the same sort of pacing that we're going to do on race day. And that way you can get any problems out of the way well ahead of race day. Okay, question 2. Should I ride with a group or should I ride solo on my race sim weekend? I'm a massive believer in doing the race sims solo. You're going to do your race day solo, so do the race sim solo. You can train with other people. That's totally fine. But avoid drafting, avoid group rides. Only train with people who are very clear on the reasons you're going out in those sessions and are very clear on your pacing. It works brilliantly to train with one or a couple of people who are very similar bike fitness to you, but it only works if they're similar bike fitness to you because you're all wanting to get your own individual training response out of this. And if you're riding with someone who's 10% stronger on the bike and they're pulling you out of your training zones, you're not going to be getting the best preparation for your race day. Remember, you want to be practicing exactly what you're going to do on race day, not what someone else is going to do on race day. And in a way, that's good preparation for race day. There will be people passing you on the bike who are stronger than you. You have to get used to letting those riders go. There will be riders around you who start out strong and then fade. You've got to have the confidence to stick to your plan and overtake those riders. And all of this stuff can play out in a race sim ride if you're with other people. But what's most important is you get used to the idea of doing this yourself to your own numbers, so you're really clear and calm and confident in what you need to do for your own particular race. Okay, next question. Should I worry if my race sim ride TSS is too high? So TSS stands for training stress score. It's a really good way of putting a numerical value on how hard you rode and putting it relative to metrics. So what we're looking for here is a TSS score of about 280. It's only really going to be accurate if you're riding with a power meter. So that's the first thing. If you're on heart rate only, it's not going to be quite as accurate. But with a power meter, it can be very accurate. And the interesting number with this is it relates to how long you're out riding for and your proportion of your FTP number. So it stands to reason that if you are on a fast Ironman bike course, as opposed to a slow hilly Ironman bike course, if you're going to be out there for a short period of time, you can allow for your FTP percentage to be a little bit higher. If you're on a really hard hilly bike course like Wales, and you're going to be out there for much longer than you would be on a fast course like Roth or Austria, your relative percentage of FTP has to be smaller. You can't ride at the same percentage on those two different courses because there might be up to an hour's difference in the amount of time that you're out there on the bike for. So TSS accounts for all of that. It says we've got 280 points to spend. We can either spend them in a short period of time at a relatively higher percentage of our FTP, or in a long period of time, but we have to be at a lower percentage of our FTP. And that's how to look at this. What we found is if you're much above 280, you're very probably not going to run well off the bike. And that's the aim of this. We want to learn to run well off the bike. So if you do your race sim ride, your TSS score seems to be much too high at the end of it, chances are you're not going to run well in your race sim. And so that informs us what we have to do on race day. We've got to dial the power down on race day. So that's where we're coming from with this. Anything higher than 280 TSS, chances are you've blown your marathon apart for all but the very, very strongest runners. So bear that in mind. Next question. Should I test my nutrition in full and my hydration plan in full in training? And the answer to this is absolutely 100% yes. We ideally want you coming up with your nutrition, your hydration, your electrolytes, your carbohydrate plan well in advance, 10, 12 weeks out, and to give you the best chance to gradually increase the amount of carbohydrate you can absorb, to dial in the amount of fluid you're going to need depending on how hot it is, to get the right balance of electrolytes in your drinks and get used to that in training. So that's the first thing. You're then going to bring all of this together on race day, and having practiced and increased the amount of carbohydrate you can take in across the previous 10 or 12 weeks, you can then really dial in on how you're going to do it on race day. It's a great practice at carrying the bars, the gels, however you're going to take those calories in. It's a great practice for you to find a way to carry those in order to be able to do it for race day, because we're not a big fan of just relying on the aid stations. If you can take charge of your own needs, you can be sure you're going to have everything that you need. But the race sim weekend is the time to practice and plan that. So absolutely, have that plan done and written out in full ahead of race simulation weekend. Then you can go ahead and practice it on race sim weekend. Next up, how close to race pace should the run be on race sim weekend? So by the time you get to that final weekend, 2 weeks out before race day, in a perfect world, you are going to know exactly how fast you're going to be running come Ironman race day, and you're going to do your runs at exactly that pace. It's tempting to perhaps listen to that and think, well, I don't want to go really hard 2 weeks out before Ironman race day. And you're dead right. The key to this is you're not going to be running hard on Ironman race day. For all but the very, very top age groupers and pros, our Ironman race day pace is actually going to be a really measured pace. And with our athletes, we can give them exactly how fast we think you're going to go. If you go away and you have a look, Jack Daniel's pacing tables, and you've trained with those, you'll know that the top end of e-pace is what you've been training at. Doesn't feel hard in training. It's not going to feel hard at the start of the race on race day or in the race sim. The challenge is being able to hold that pace all the way through to the end of the marathon. So it's not about running fast. It's about running at a pace appropriate to you that you've practiced in training. Now, some of the pros, some of the very top end age groupers, they will be running faster than most people can do. But you need to consider as you're thinking about this, is that me? If it is you, absolutely fine. But there are very, very few people who are going to be running what they consider to be hard or fast on race day. For most of us, Ironman is going to be a test of endurance and it's going to be a test of pacing. So be very clear about how fast you're going to run and be very clear about the reasons that you're running at those particular paces. Certainly all the athletes that we coach will have 100% nailed on pacing strategy and know how fast they should be going. And crucially, be holding themselves back to that pace at the start of the marathon so they don't run too hard too early.